Good morning, everyone. We are live on Aired Out. It is a beautiful, beautiful day, and I hope you're off to a marvelous, marvelous start. We have a lot to get to this morning. First off, let's jump into some news. I know that Lawrence Seiler is standing by with the latest. I guess from what I understand, buddy, there's been some developments on this plane crash. Am I right?
Yes, sir, and good morning. This is a very, very sad story. There was a plane crash back in September in Ferrisburg, Vermont. The victims were all from Connecticut. The victims of the plane crash ranged from age 15 to 88. And the 15-year-old victim was learning how to fly the plane in the pilot seat. According to investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board, weather did not play a factor in how the plane went down. Investigators are still investigating this, and it was just very bad. 4 people passed away, and Able Dinner on Air would like to say condolences to the family of on the deaths of their loved ones at this time. And JD, this is just very bad. This is all we have today from Ableton on Air Live, and I'll continue following this story if there are any other developments.
Well, we appreciate you. As always, Lawrence, thank you so much. Flying the Wall Productions bringing you the Aired Out podcast this morning, live from Facebook and YouTube, and streamed everywhere you get your podcasts on the web at airedoutVT.com. It is just about 9:01. Weather from NBC 5, calling for lower 40s, waking up this morning. Rainy and cold today, upper 40s, 40 and cloudy tonight. Friday, tomorrow, partly sunny and 58. Saturday, partly sunny, 53, and Sunday, rain, upper 40s. Looks like the daytime high. Paul Brody with me this morning. Good morning, fella.
Hi.
How the hell are you, man?
Great. It's a little chilly outside. My nose is trying to run.
Yes, it is.
So
I wore a T-shirt. Wore a T-shirt yesterday. Froze my ass off all day.
Well, that was fun.
I'm doing a sweatshirt today.
You got to freeze so you can acclimate.
5 o'clock last night, it was snowing on Mount Mansfield. So it's coming, brother.
Yeah. That's wild. We haven't even had a frost down here.
I know. Let's see. Birthdays this morning. We have Amy Nolan, Chuck Lyford, Marie Nelson, Robin Erica, Eric Gorsman, Christy Fisher, Doug Pike, Kim Sear, Scott Sicily, Danelle Hollier, Ellen Gilbert, Josh Nelson, Amy Lawrence, and Harold Thompson. Happy birthday, everyone.
Happy birthday.
Listen, is our man coming in this morning?
I believe so.
All right.
I never heard otherwise. So.
All right.
I never told him where you are. He knows where you are?
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, well.
I just assumed.
No, he's been in here before.
Yeah, all right.
Balin Sky on his way. G is saying good morning, Paul.
Hey, G. What's up?
So far, he's the only one saying good morning, Paul. But that's all right.
That's all right. That's all I need.
Robin and Becky and Glenn, Clayton, all tuned in this morning. Local leaders across Vermont are being forced to make some difficult decisions in the wake of 3 major floods in the last 12 months. And this has reached a local level here. The city council in Barrie trying to figure out how $900,000 is going to be spent, and it's just not enough to assist the 13 property owners who have already expressed interest in flood-proofing their buildings by raising them above the base flood elevation. The state-imposed cap is $300,000 per property. So that's in the Times-Argus this morning, if you want to read about it. Southern Vermont roadblocks on 91 this morning. That story is posted up on Aired Out. The Central Vermont Career Center efforts to build a standalone facility. That one as well is up on Aired Out. The new owner of Goddard College is planning to meet with the select board next week and residents over there. So they're going to be talking about that. New York is sending the National Guard to Florida. There's a lot of stuff going on. Of course, Hurricane Milton made landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast last night as a Category 3 storm, 120-mile-an-hour winds, and over a dozen tornadoes, which have claimed the lives of 4 people so far. And that's what we have. So sad. The storm surge expected to reach up to 13 feet. So, yeah, it is It is a mess down there. 18 inches of rain in the Tampa Bay area alone.
That's a lot of rain.
St. Pete, Sarasota, Venice. I don't know if have you been down there?
I've been to Orlando once.
No. Orlando.
He said yeah.
Well, Orlando's crazy, man.
Yeah,
but Orlando, Cape Canaveral, Kissimmee, Lakeland, those cities, all in the path of this hurricane, and we got 3 million people without power down in Florida. 3 million people. Whew. There's a lot of pictures and video that I'm seeing this morning of that hurricane, and we may hear from a couple of friends.
I haven't looked at the Florida this morning. I was watching last night when the landfalls starting.
Just amazing.
All the Tennessee and North Carolina stuff from last week, 2 weeks ago. That's wild.
Incredible, isn't it?
Awful.
This morning we're going to be chatting with not only Paul, my guest right here, but also Balin Sky, who is a acupuncturist and a Taoist.
Well, it's traditional Chinese medicine is usually the way it's phrased.
Okay.
But he says he goes by Taoist medicine. So like Taoism is a
Taoism.
Taoism, yeah.
What did I say? Don't forget.
Taoist,
yeah,
but no, it's the same. Yeah, it's. I mean,
all right.
If you're reading it in English, it's Taoist because it's spelled with a T, but usually pronounced Tao.
This guy, we have been trying to get on for a long time. A long time.
Yeah, you enlisted me about 6 months ago to make it happen.
Yeah,
it's
literally.
taken some time.
Literally, maybe even more than 6 months ago.
Could be.
But
you were definitely talking about him. It was 2 years ago, I think, is when you brought him up to me. But I crossed paths with him about 6 months ago. Why don't I tell that? I wanted to do acupuncture, and I asked you, and you said him.
Yeah.
Said, well, so I remember I was going to tell a story, and I was like, let's get right to it. That was about the story. No. That was it. I remembered from 2 years ago. I wanted to look for an acupuncturist and try that out, and then I remember you had told me about somebody from 2 years ago. So then I asked you, what was the name of that person? You said Balin Sky. So I looked him up, and so I've been working with him since March.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
It's just it's just a worth of knowledge, and you know me.
I do know you.
You know me well. I'm a little.
No, you're all right.
You know.
I know you well enough.
I'm a skeptic about a lot of things.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. What are you talking about? Of course I am.
What are you talking about?
I'm cautious with, believing certain things.
That's like GMPI calling me skeptic.
Well, I mean,
I guess we're all skeptical in well, it's the fifth agreement. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So we're all, I don't know. You got to be skeptical.
I just, I don't know. I was a little hesitant to explore acupuncture and, some of these homeopathic remedies.
Why?
Too. I don't know. I don't know. I
That's
the
great
answer.
Thing. That's the great thing. So many times we make these comments about I'm this or I'm that, and then when somebody asks us why, we have no idea.
Yeah.
I think it was Carl Jung was saying that, no, I just saw this quote again recently. I don't remember. It was one of those old guys. He said something like, humans just live too unconsciously, or like they're not aware of how unconscious we live. Something.
I don't know what it is.
We're just running the scripts. We don't even know what we're doing.
This is what I do know. I went up to Wellness Wednesday a while ago, and Washington County Mental Health puts this on often. It's not every single Wednesday of the month, but we promote the crap out of it here on Air Now. And Balin was up there, 23 Summer Street, right here in Barrie, and offering free acupuncture and acupressure And what's nice about him is he really explains. He doesn't just say, "I'm going to jab this nail into the side of your temple,"
right?
Without explaining what it is. Okay, so he explained that. So when I went in there, I had true story. I mean, no bullshit here. I had a pounding headache, horrible. Sat down. He explained things to me. Had a sip of tea, and boom, he's sticking some tiny little microscopic thing. It was an ear thing, but then there was a tiny little needle. Stuck it in my ear. Headache was gone within, I don't know, 3 minutes, maybe 5 at the most.
One of the things he said about acupuncture to me was, if you go with a specific thing like that with a headache, and if the practitioner can't, not the practitioner, but if the treatment doesn't remedy it 90% or greater, then it was probably the needle was put in the wrong place. Like, that's how confident they are with a lot of the acupuncture treatments.
Yes.
And it's amazing. It works really well.
I was so impressed with not only the results, but also the explanation of things that came from Balin. I think he's running a little behind this morning.
Yeah, he texted me. He's on his way.
But what has your experience been with Balin so far?
Back in January, I started getting these, feeling vertigo, this dizziness. It was just a couple of nights. I still don't know what caused it. I think it had to do with muscle strain in my neck and shoulder. But every night that week, I was feeling this vertigo and kind of tingling in my arms. And so by Friday, it was January something, and it was increasing. It started a little bit earlier. It was weird 'cause it was just in the evenings. But this Friday evening, it was a little more pronounced, and I was feeling heart palpitations. Felt like I could feel my heart beating in my chest, where you're not usually aware of that kind of thing.
Seriously?
And and my left arm my hand was tingly real bad, my arm was numb. And so any of those kind of symptoms, because my dad died of a heart attack a couple years ago, so I've been very, that's always on my mind. And so this was the second time I had a panic attack associated with those kind of symptoms over the last 4 years. So I ended up going to the hospital, and they ruled out heart attack and stroke, which, that was the goal for going there. And the ER doctor said, probably anxiety response, go follow up with your primary care. So I scheduled a physical with my primary care, which I don't do a lot of that kind of stuff often.
Yeah.
I usually wait for the catastrophic things and then go in.
Dumbass.
And whatever. And so they were scheduling like 3 weeks out. So it was a couple weeks of just suffering through this anxiety, not knowing, thinking something's wrong with me, but nothing's wrong with me or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
But I ended up going in for the physical, and he tried to induce the vertigo, but he couldn't. So he said, there's so many different reasons or so many different possible causes of vertigo. We can't really, if we can't induce it, we don't know what it is. And so we did blood work and did all these things. And he says, you look healthy, you got good range of motion in your neck, all these things. Seem fine. So just keep doing what you're doing, exercise and eat better and whatever. But I was still experiencing this vertigo, and I didn't like it.
That's a horrible feeling.
Oh, it's terrible. And it wasn't constant. It was just off and on. It was never to the point of nausea. But
I was going to ask you if you hurled.
No, I never did. But it was just dizziness. It wasn't pleasant. And so I got sick of it. And then so after I couldn't get the results through Western medicine, then I was thinking, I got to try something else. And that's when the acupuncture came to mind. And so I went and met with Balin, and we did a 2-hour sit down where he asked a whole bunch of questions and told him everything that's going on, and that was a really good conversation. He helped me understand some things and had some new awareness. I've talked about my experience with the Mormon Church, leaving the church 6 years ago on the show before.
Yes.
But that was a pretty big thing in my life, and we were talking about that, and he mentioned just because if the baby with the bathwater kind of thing.
Yeah.
If the box that the information came in is rotten, you throw out the box, but you keep the information. The information bad. So he's really helping me to. I don't know. It seems so simple looking back on it. It was I didn't have that. I guess I never had that realization that I learned. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I should have, and I probably did at some points, but I was kind of just throwing it all away. My whole life experience, all of the stuff I learned in that healing style of Jesus Christ. It's so I'm not a Christian. I don't go in for religion stuff now. Whatever you want to go do it if it's good for you.
Right.
But for me, it's not anymore. But it doesn't mean I can't still draw inspiration from it or still go in that vein of being a spiritual healer. And so that kind of shifted my focus a little bit, and I really appreciated that moment that I had with him. And so from there, I was kind of connected with him. But he's just been really good with insights, and so I've been meeting with him regularly since then. And he recommends herbal remedies and prescribes them, and helps me with diet stuff, understanding. Like you said, he explains why these things are. But I've been doing Qigong for a number of years. Qigong is spirit guidance through simple exercise, moving arms and hands mostly, and breathing. And so that's part of Taoism, Chinese medicine. So he recommends different Qigong practices and helps me, and it teaches me about like the energy meridians and the acupressure points and all that.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Has this worked for you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still have the vertigo every once in a while. You can ask him why he hasn't fixed it yet. Here he is.
Here he comes.
Ask him why he hasn't fixed it yet.
It's
been 8 months.
I'll ask him that. I'll give him some hell right now. Balin Sky. Good morning, buddy. Have a seat. Grab a microphone. I'm so glad you're here. We have a lot to talk about this morning. Obviously, welcome, brother. Can I just say this? The name, I'm going to say it right now. The name Balin Sky is like so rock star. It's like
both of you guys have rock star names. I don't have a rock star name.
I was on the movie set. I was on the movie set when Balin Sky was there. Got his autograph.
You knew him when? Is that what you said?
He's trying to say that, yeah.
I'm
you
serious.
got to get on the microphone, dude, right in your face.
The
I think.
funny
I don't
thing
know.
is, though, Paul, you're the one who actually is a rock star.
I am a rock star, but I don't have a rock star name.
Well, we got the names, but you got the goods.
So we got to start a band.
Balin, man.
How do I do this? I don't even know.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Am I like that?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah,
Okay.
You are such a you're such a man of knowledge, and man, I mean, just in a short amount of time, I have learned so much from you. Tell us about you and how you got into all of this. What were you doing before all of this?
Oh, well, people ask me sometimes, they say, how did you get into Chinese medicine? I like to call it Taoist medicine because it comes from nature, although I honor my teachers as Chinese, and I still don't have a good answer. The answer, the best I've come up with is I'm wondering how it got into me. I went to art school and realized that
art school. I'm letting you stick needles in me. I thought you had real credentials.
well, before Chinese, before med school, I went to art school.
Too long to laugh.
Yeah, and I realized that what the art that was inspiring me most was art that was changing people, was art that was changing me, was art that would make an impact and kind of address that change. And insight came to me, which was that what if I skipped the painting to impact people and instead tried to work on myself as an art project? Like installation became an interest in me, and like performance and this sort of idea of being your own art project. And it's funny because I went to this med school where their slogan is "Be the medicine." The idea that the healer themselves becomes the vessel for that medical administration, that the needles are secondary, that the herbs are secondary, that the qigong therapies are secondary, that gets into that thing. I'm not trying to put myself. I aspire to be that medicine, which is the slogan of that school. That idea of working on one's own installation of life, one's own investigation, one's own assemblage of life, such that you can reflect that to other people, that you can, like we talk about balance, right? Like being a doctor becomes that investigation so that I can share from my own experience, how I can reflect that back to people and help them navigate their own journey back towards health.
You're talking to a guy right here who has led a different kind of a life. In that, if something is not right for me and my body, whatever it may be, I go hiking and I come back, I'm stiff, I'm sore, I'm hurting the next day. I'm put down a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and that's my meal, and I'm still sore the next day. And if it says take 2 ibuprofen, I take 15.
You could stop at 4. That'd be okay.
Well, all right. I'm just saying, take 1. I'll take 5.
Sure.
And just let's get on with it.
Well, see, we got to get you on the Chinese herbs because
this is what we're saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing I have to tell people with Chinese herbs is they take 1, and I say no. These are like it's nature medicine, right? And we're used to, in our culture, we're used to active ingredients, right? Yeah. So I did my residency in pharmacy, so I went post-grad, and there's no real post-Chinese medicine. There's actually a pretty big industry. Actually, my colleague Laura Cooley, the late great Laura Cooley, who started the clinic at Washington County, the ear acupuncture clinic. She's a luminary. She was at Katrina. She was at 9/11. Just an amazing person. And she was right here in Barrie, and the legacy of her clinic is right there at the Well Space on Wednesday afternoons. But she used to say she pierced a lot of this veil and was saying, do you know the subsidies that go into Western medicine doctors' trainings? And I don't, and I can't unfortunately quote what she had made visible, right? But the subsidies that go into that, putting doctors into residencies and that whole infrastructure that supports that.
Sure.
Well, we popped out of Chinese medicine school, and I was like, nature medicine. I have a degree. It says master herbalist at 25. I shook the hand of the real master, who was the head of the school, and he winked at me and he was like, "Master, yeah, we both know that's a bit of a joke, right?" And he said, "Now you can start learning." Mm-hmm. And all these supplements on the store, on the counter. I popped out of Chinese medicine school with a master herbalism degree on the wall, and I was as flabbergasted as anybody by N-acetylcysteine and vitamin C and glucosamine chondroitin and all these homeopathics. All that stuff at the Whole Foods store, And I had a head full of all these other memorized testing, Chinese herbs. We were studied about 300 and about 400 individual medicinals, their taste, their temperature, their properties, and at least 80 different formulas, which are like recipes, like cocktail mixology recipes, where you have to add this ingredient this time and shake it for that long, and here are the symptoms and the indications and the modifications of all these different, medicinal formulations, which we would use. So I was like, I'm not going to memorize now and study from a book, the prescriptions for natural healing, right? All those vitamin C and vitamin D and vitamin E and magnesium picolinate, magnesium glycinate, I'm not going to study that from a book. So I jumped right into the pharmacy, and I went retail. And I went, okay, now I've got this, degree in master herbalism, but I'm going to have 15 seconds to try to make a sale with somebody who walks off the street, just talking to me at the grocery store. And that's how I learned. That's how I learned the supplements. That's how I learned, I call it Western herbalism in a way, because we're in the West, right? And I realized that I could make a Chinese formula from the things in people's cupboard, right? From those active ingredients. And that's what I was trying to tell you, that one of the supplement representatives, they would come in and give us, the sales pitch on their supplements, right? And one of them came in and he said, we have this thing about active ingredients. And this was a good company. And they really are about the whole food nutrition, and they made this visible. And he said, if you cut a carrot in half, right? I don't know if you've ever done this, but you cut a carrot in half, what does it look like?
Well, there's the center core, almost like a tree.
Right?
Or an eyeball.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so he said, they'll say it's beta carotene for the eyes, right? That carrots are good for the eyes, beta carotene. I never put it together. I was like, right, carotene, beta carotene. I don't know. And he said, that's just the active ingredient. That's what they're able to see. That's what they're able to study and see, right? It's just what shows up on the test. He said, how do we know that it's actually that one little active ingredient that's good for the eyes? Right? He had another story about B vitamins. He's like, there's B1 and B2, thiamine and riboflavin and B12 and B6 and B. He said they're up to like B25 now, right? Because we just keep finding new little pieces. They were all there. We just couldn't see it until then.
Sure.
Right? So when I administer Chinese herbs to people, we're used to like 1 Advil, 2 Advil, 15. That's a lot. I just give them Chinese herbs, and I said, well, you got to take 15 of these pills. And I'm like, 15? Well, this is natural substance. It's actually a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Right? So, when you're on that, 2 is better, 15 is more is better. I was like, well, we got to get you on those Chinese herbs because you'll actually take a clinical dose.
Right. Oh, my God. It's hysterical. I mean, how many times have we all heard that the secret to so many things is right in front of us on this earth? The solutions, the remedies to everything. And, most notably, cancer. I mean, I've heard so many times the cure for cancer is right there in front of us. But it's being ignored purposely, intentionally, because there's, frankly, an industry in it.
There's money to be made.
There's money to be made.
Well, I was wondering if we were going to talk about politics.
Well,
if I'm present, it's hard not to. My disdain for it.
You certainly don't have to. I'm just saying, there's so many answers that are right there in front of us. Look.
It's inside of you. It's already inside of you.
Right.
Sure, it's the earth, but it's also inside of you. It's two of those together.
Right.
Look at our grandparents who back in the 20s, 30s. Oh, you're not feeling well? You just mix in a little apple cider vinegar with 1 teaspoon of lemon juice and honey, drop of whiskey and some cherry juice and some cinnamon powder.
Yep.
Shooter, you're going to feel good the next. I mean, this stuff, this kind of mindset has been around for.
Well, I love that you brought up the honey and apple cider vinegar because here we are in Barrie.
Don't forget the cherry juice.
The cherry juice. Well, in Barrie, we're here, right?
Yeah.
And there's
maple syrup
the
too.
old farmer doctor, right?
Yes,
is Jarvis.
Sure. Right.
Right. And
Jarvis was a
I keep
legend.
trying to read his book. It's dry as I mean, can I say this?
Dry as a cinnamon stick.
It's dry as a cinnamon stick, right? It's so I read Conjur's book the last winter when I was cuddled under my sleeping bag building a house and Beach Conjur's book Bag Balm and Duct Tape, which is just
my God,
goofy fun, just really fun. He's an old farmer doctor from I think he was at Skultney Hospital. I hope I haven't butchered that pronunciation, but
yeah.
But Jarvis was that legend here, right?
Yes.
And he did that. I mean, I really respect him from that
had a recipe.
That medical establishment to actually and do that kind of thing. I don't know if he attacked the giant cancer establishment, but of his day, I think he really did. And his book is so dry for that reason because he wanted to give it validity to the old farmers' wives' tales kind of stuff to be like, look, kind of boils down to acidity in your stomach.
Right.
And alkalinity in the rest of you, and how can you do that? Well, it doesn't have to be that complicated, right?
Sure.
But it can be a little more complicated than just everybody needs apple cider vinegar and honey.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I'm trying to take things. And actually, I brought you some stuff. I brought you talk about little cherry juice, right?
Yeah.
And I brought you a cup of coffee, and I brought you the little pumpkin spice blend that I made.
Oh,
nice.
Right.
So I love pumpkin spice.
Do you?
But there's a love-hatred right now. I mean, people either love it or they hate it. What I love is the taste. What I don't love is that we have to have pumpkin spice everything.
Yeah, hand lotion.
Dishwasher
detergent.
Really? Is there dishwasher detergent? That's great.
I make things up sometimes.
That would be great.
No, I think there is.
If there isn't, we got to get on that.
It's just obnoxiously
That'll sell.
Great. Yeah, I don't know, but we should have to just celebrate. That's how I go. I talk about this the Chinese thing, and I don't want to hit too many third rails, but maybe I do, right? Cultural
that's
appropriation.
That's what we do here.
All that
that's what we do.
Right?
Third
hit
rails.
the third rail, right? let's if we can withstand that electric shock, right? Then what can we do, right? That's how I feel. If you can ground the third rail, you're good, right?
You know what's amazing, guys, is that it's like all you have to do is turn on your phone, which apparently is listening to us. So if you're complaining, if you're complaining to your coworkers, your friends, your wife, your husband, whatever, I'm having a hard time sleeping at night. Bang! Next thing you know, on your phone, magnesium supplements take before bed.
Right.
So I'm having a harder time sleeping because I'm pissed off about something. So I'll pop 2 magnesiums, then 3. Then our organs are like, what the fuck is all this magnesium doing?
Right.
And it's like it's super unhealthy.
Right. Well, it gets back to what we were talking about side effects. Mm-hmm. So my pharmacology teacher said to me, we were studying very small education in Western pharmaceuticals because out of my scope of practice. I still hope my sister's a pharmacist. I really respect her for that. And the pharmaceutical story is one that I haven't really studied yet. I would like to be able to I believe in integrative medicine. I believe in crossover. And that means that I need to honor and respect what the others are doing as much as I ask them to honor and respect what I'm doing, right? And my pharmacy teacher, he said something. He said, you know what? There's no side effects in medicine. There's just effects.
Okay. Interesting.
And the effects are some of them you want and some of them you don't want, right? Side effects and effects are all just part of the same medicine.
That's so fascinating. My God.
Here comes
I've never heard of that explained that way. That's so amazing. Wow. Have you written that down?
No, I mean that's a quote from Michael Redman, who is the pharmacy teacher, right? He's saying the side effect. That's what I like about Taoist medicine, that we can really coordinate the effects of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you're talking about with that pound of magnesium. Is you're getting the effect that you want,
right,
but you're also getting these other effects. And that's the grossness of that kind of medicine.
Sure.
Which is what I'm saying. So bag balm and duct tape, everybody needs cider vinegar and honey.
Right.
Well, we could get a little more specific to that, right? And say that sometimes your energy is up and you need to settle it. And sometimes you got your energy is down and you need to lift it, right? Back to pumpkin spice, those flavors are so popular, partly because it's a cultural phenomenon, and partly because, hashtag basic or something like this.
Fall time cozy, we're indoors, we're staying warm.
Right? But those spices actually help you harmonize to that energy.
Yeah.
They actually help you aromatize the digested, heavier, fleshier pumpkins, that fruits, right? There's actually a medicinal wisdom to that. There's an effect to those spices, which are actually naturally harmonizing to this season.
Isn't that something?
And to the foods that we take.
Yeah, and wow, isn't that fascinating? Mm-hmm. And what gets basically, I think, to dumb it down, maybe, what's being triggered in your mind, what you're associating with. Is that basically what you're kind of saying? Like when, springtime, we don't want to smell pumpkin spice.
Right.
We want to smell lavender.
Right.
Because the windows are open. We want the lavender candles.
Right.
Is that what you're saying, kind of?
Yeah, I mean, harmonizing with the seasons. So, the causes of disease in Taoist medicine are simple, right? There's external invasion. You get hit by a car.
Yeah.
We don't have to discuss whether, that's what caused the disease of your broken hip was the car, right?
Sure.
Now, maybe it was because you were drunk and you walked out into the street when you had an argument or something like that. So, what was really the cause of getting hit by a car? We can debate that. And that's all some sort of semantical thing, right? But, external forces can make you sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Internal forces can make you sick.
Ooh.
Right?
So true.
We're having an adventure in here.
Your dog's getting hooked on wires.
Oh, my dog's getting hooked on wires.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have the right attitude, the right mindset to beat whatever it is that you've got to beat. I think is what you're saying.
So, internal
true.
causes of disease are usually the emotions. Right, and maybe you can talk about some of that. People that what we do to ourselves.
Maybe I could.
Maybe you could.
Yeah.
I think you could.
He asked me
about how I got connected with you, before you walked up, and so you were walking up right when I was making fun of you.
Oh, really? You were making fun of me?
Yeah,
Perfect.
And you walked right in, and I was like, "You got it."
I walked right into it, huh?
Then you just moved on. But no, because I was saying, like I was telling the story about like this vertigo that I've been experiencing, and I said I'm still experiencing it to some extent now, and I was like, ask Balin why I'm still experiencing it, right?
Yeah. Right.
But so like it's stuff that's inside of me, but it's changing.
Yeah,
So he didn't, so to go back to that joke I was trying to land. It is moving. It's not the exact same thing because he was asking me, has it helped? The acupuncture, the herbal supplements, the qigong. So yeah, it's helping. It's different. I'm still having certain symptoms, but there's movement in it, and it's different. And overall there's improvement. But I think a lot of this is it's what caused my disease. I don't know. I mean, I think that probably the initial genesis of this vertigo was this shoulder injury when I was trying to exercise. Obviously, I'm buff, but I think probably a lot of it is the internal stuff. I mean, it's years. It's all of the things that I've resisted and repressed. So I saw this picture. I gotta show it to you. Looks like it's from something Taoist, but it's a human figure sitting in a chair, and then from the lower dantian it has the energy radiating out, and then energy dispersing through the fingers and the feet. And so this body's sitting there, and the energy radiates out, and then listen, like Michael Singer, who I like a lot, and he talks about all these things. When we resist it, it stays in there until it comes back out. And so I think that's what you're talking about with the emotions or with the thoughts, how we create disease internally. So I've started going with this idea of every emotion that we experience is radiating out from one of these energy centers that we have, maybe relative to what the experience has been. So this energy is coming out like a ripple in a pond. So you get your flat, smooth surface of water. You throw a stone in there, and it splashes, and then the ripples come out, and they keep going until they're gone. And you can't change it. If you get in there to try and stop it, you jump in the water to try and contain those ripples because you don't want them to mess up your pretty flat water. You're going to make it so much worse. And there's no amount of effort. There's nothing that you can do, no matter how hard you try. The only way, even if you jump in there and trying to contain it, the only way to stop it from moving is to just be still. And you got to stop moving completely. If you try to do anything, so either you want the ripples to stay or you want them to go away. You can't make it stay or prevent it from growing in its own form. You can splash around and make new ripples, but you can't. That original ripple, it can never. So whether you really like it or whether you don't like it at all, when you resist the experience of that emotion radiating out from you, and so I've gotten this imagery of, so like something happens in my environment, you call me names or something like that and pretend that I took things personally and I get angry. I create anger inside of myself because of you, and then I've created this anger radiation, and it starts to radiate out of me. Now, if I do anything about that, other than just handle it, just experience it. If I do anything about it, I'm gonna make that ripple go different places. I might shove it down into my feet, and I develop ankle problems. But if I just go, I feel angry right now. That's an emotion that I'm allowed to feel. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling anger. My body reacted to the environment, and it's gonna the chemicals it creates are gonna subside when they subside. But the emotional response that I've created, this rippling effect, I'm just going to sit here and let it radiate out through my hands and my feet back into the universe, and it's going to reabsorb, and it's going to be part of everything else.
This guy, I mean, he's basically speaking the textbook. I mean, I'm so impressed by you. I was like, where did you figure this stuff out? Because it's.
I watched a lot of Simpsons growing up.
That's a good show.
Everything I know, I learned from the Simpsons.
Yeah, that's a good show. There's some writers on there. They put a lot of good stuff in there. Yeah.
So there's like 6 Harvard graduates at one point.
So if I'm having a particularly difficult time out in my barn, can I still scream?
Absolutely,
fuck,
sure.
And throw a hammer across it?
Yeah.
All right.
Just don't hit anybody.
Well, so this is what I'm saying. He's saying stuff from the textbooks that we read from in Taoist medicine that were written in Chinese, right? And it's one of the things that I really appreciate about the Chinese lineage of this medicine is that they have written records, clinical records. Like the cancer establishment, the military, industrial, pharmaceutical, agricultural, war machine, like however we want to slander that thing, right? Right? Tries to throw Chinese medicine on the bus. Well, more studies are needed, right? And that's sort of a joke that I like to say. More studies are needed, right? Like I can't treat cancer. It's out of my scope, right? And so I don't treat cancer. I treat what's going on with people with their unresolved emotions and like hey, it's okay when, you stub your toe or somebody cuts you off in traffic, you flip them the bird and you're pissed off, and then you let it go, right? That ripple goes, right?
Yeah.
So when you hold that ripple and you try to repress it, and that whole complex of things that happen when, your father taught you that you're not allowed to be angry, and, girls are supposed to be this certain way and this thing, and it gets all tied up in these freaking knots in you, and you got painful periods forever or whatever it is, right? Vertigo or these different pieces because the energy is not flowing. Emotions are like weather. They move, they change, right? It's when they get stuck and we hold on to them.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you're saying that what was written down in Chinese, right, over 5,000 years ago, and they said the cause of emotion, external trauma. You go and you hang out in, the Arctic and you don't have any clothes on, you don't know how to do your Wim Hof breathing, you're going to get sick, right?
Love Wim Hof.
Or, you get hit by a car or whatever it was then, a horse kicks you in the gonads, you're going to get sick, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's the cause of disease. The other cause of disease is unexpressed desire or congested emotions. When you have that, frustrated time building your barn and you're not allowed to feel that and let that ripple dissipate through your environment.
But some of our illness, I mean, frankly, many doctors would say, look, this is purely cellular. This is biological.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is biological?
Right.
Where does it come from? How did it get here?
That's a good question, right?
What's the self?
This fucker, man.
I know, right? He's good. He's good.
No, I mean, it's a great point. And there's many people.
Well, like Joe Dispenser. I mean,
Joe Dispenser.
Because a lot of this stuff.
Do you know Dispenser?
I don't know him personally, but I'm familiar with his work a little
Well, I'll
bit.
introduce you.
Ooh.
I don't know him either. But there's the idea that anything that is going on inside of you, you can remedy. And anything. I mean, that's really what Joe Dispenser is teaching people.
Look at Joe. He was hit by a bus on his bicycle and broken back, spinal fusion. I mean, the guy was paralyzed. I mean, he was
9 weeks later, he's on a bike again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm more familiar with what Bruce Lipton is, his perspective on those things.
Similar,
I mean, they
similar
working together,
field, right?
Lipton is saying we're antennas. I mean, his work with genetics. So I work with qi. That's the Taoist word, Chinese word is qi, Qi. Right?
Tai Chi?
Slightly different character, but I mean, I kind of transliterate the thing, to be the same idea. So Tai Chi is CHI, but then Qi is in Qigong is QI. But so those are different characters, but they're actually both spelled in the more so there's both Americanized version way. So we spell Chinese characters based on their sounds, right? Okay, which is sort of silly, except for Dao. Right. Well, no, I mean that one you would spell with a T. So there's like a couple of different ways of writing Chinese sounds. Yeah, and what we're writing is the sound, and just like which is which, there's a lot of characters that share the same sound. So that's kind of where it gets confusing. And I'm not really a scholar of Chinese language. I'm just only very, very, moderately fluent in the concepts, if not the language at all. But the idea of qi is energy. Is it energy or is it matter? It's matter and energy. Oh. Right? It's the confluence of both of them. Right? It's the translation. It's the spectrum, just like a spectrum of light. Right? Is light red or is it blue? Light is both. Red can be red or can be everything, blue, right? Yeah. All those different anything pieces. You can see is part of light. And even the things that you can't see. Right. Right? Yeah, it's all in the spectrum. And so Bruce Lipton is, describing it in the same way that Dispenser is talking about. We're antennae. His work with genetics. You mentioned that cellular genetics, right? And all the funding, I mean, I heard him tell this story that the funding was all going into the Human Genome Project. They want to find the gene that causes cancer, the gene that expresses as diabetes, or the gene. And he was doing work before they had the language of epigenetics saying, well, maybe it's the environment that triggers it, right? Right. And came to find out that so much of it, there's not a gene. There's not enough genes to code for all the different expressions, right? And so he, raised his hand and to dead silence said, like, maybe it's the environment that's triggering those different things. And he's come to this hypothesis that we are, like, our physicality is really the antennae to be receiving these different, he calls them stories, right? These different stories. And some of them are ancestral stories or cultural stories, or some of them are
habitual stories, or these different programs that we run through the process that, the antenna exists, the physicality is there. That's that idea of chi being both matter and energy.
Sure.
Right? And you have to slow me down because I start going fast. But
if you're just joining us, Balin Sky is a Taoist, a acupuncturist. Talk about black medicine. I mean, this was.
Black medicine.
Yeah. Well, I got to give a shout out then to my good friend Opiemi, right? Who's a black witch doctor in Montpelier.
Yesterday he texted me and he said something. What did you call me? He called me a licensed alcoholic and drunk counselor.
I love it. Yeah,
that's what I am.
It's black turtle.
Right,
black turtle.
Yeah. That's why we were laughing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we can talk about black medicine.
Let's talk about black medicine.
And stand by. Because I am going to be asking you at some point today, just to tease you a little bit, I am going to be asking you about cannabis.
Yeah.
But black turtle medicine, tell us about this.
Well, I realized I brought you this cup of coffee.
Yes.
And I told you about the pumpkin spice.
Is that the coffee right there?
That's a coffee.
Can I sip that?
The pumpkin spice I brought, I made these little packets.
Oh, Jesus.
For the so you're talking about drug dealing, right? So
yeah.
I made these little. I don't know where the if I do
the
that.
Camera right there.
There's my camera, so my little black turtle, right? Which is actually a little emblem, and this is actually an ancient symbol. Where the little dots are on there has some. So I don't know if you know about charging of water or any of those kind of things, but you can use that little symbol. It's actually if you ever go to a Chinese restaurant, they have a little mirror. Have you ever noticed a little mirror above that? Yeah. So that's what this is actually encoded into that, and it has all the different what do you say? Like, you could say elements, you could say aspects of nature, of life in balance, which is why they use that. It's a ward. It's like every culture's got it, right?
Like the horseshoe. For West,
like the horseshoe.
Old West,
right?
The horseshoe up over the door.
Yeah, horseshoe up over the door, or in some of the hand that wards off the evil eye, like that. So I put that actually in all the medicine, and if you count those little dots that are in there, each one of those reflects to something called the magic square. So if you count up those dots, and you go any way through, you get the Sudoku puzzle. That's what this comes from, actually.
Oh my God!
That thing. They all add up to 15 in each different. So there's all kinds of really deep, kind of mystical stuff encoded in that. But that's the turtle. So black turtle medicine. I've been handing out these little pumpkin spice packets. I want to give one to you, and I brought you this cup of coffee so you can just stir it into your cup of coffee and get that medicinal benefit from these pedestrian flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do that right now?
You can do it right now. Yeah. My first drug deal of the day.
Wow.
First one's always free.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. I approve this message.
You approve this message. I love that.
So the smell that's in the studio right now is unbelievable.
I'm practicing my own black medicine. I'm going against my doctor's orders. I got a clove in my mouth.
I can't believe it.
I'm doing one at a time.
One at a time.
I said if it's heating and I don't need the heat, I'll just do one at a time.
Good. Yeah.
So where I mean, the folks watching, listening right now.
Yeah.
Balin's right here in Vermont. But where can people find you? Walk into Black Turtle Medicine.
Well, we're rolling out a little bit slow. I'm a late bloomer in the great tradition of the Sloats of my family, and we're building out some of these sort of, I call them over the counter offerings, right? So it's just like we have to kind of reinvent the wheel in a way, right? So like the insurance industry. Right, the healthcare industry. It's not a healthcare industry; it's a sick care industry. Right, so we have to kind of reinvent that wheel. So I'm, what does the world need? It needs another blend of teas. Another tea blend, really. I guess so. So what I've started to do is create these over-the-counter offerings, and the pumpkin spice is just, as my colleague and friend, my brother Yangju says, it's sort of a piss take. In a way, just like pumpkin spice, okay, but like on the back of that package. I described, it's very pedestrian ingredients. It's, pumpkin spice. I kind of, looked at the internet, what's in pumpkin spice? I did everything but the pumpkin. Got to add your own pumpkin, sorry.
Right? Pumpkin not included.
But I created, a little write-up about why, again, to make visible the fact that what you're doing has an effect on your health. And you have agency to balance your own health, right? And what you need is a little bit of knowledge. Like Paul just mentioned clove, right? Against his doctor's orders. I have no problem with you chewing on a clove, right? But
you said it's heating, and I
Paul
should avoid
tends
it.
to be hot, and his energy tends to rise up to his head, vertigo, right? And that energy is warm and up in the head. So mostly what Paul needs is things that are cooling and that settle his body down, right? And I could give him all the exotic Chinese herbs or, Amazonian, pharmaceutical, this, that, and the other, right? But like mint does that. Seaweed does that, right?
Cucumbers.
Cucumbers
I'm
do
eating
that.
a lot more cucumbers this summer.
Right?
Because they're cooling.
And so that's part of my work as a doctor is not reinventing the wheel, but making that pedestrian agency available to people with their everyday substances. Paul texted me, "Oh man, I've got this terrible bout of that, and I this and that," and I was like, "All right, you're at a party, like, go find the watermelon, go find the cucumber, go drink some mint tea, make yourself some lemonade, like those processes, which again is natural. We're used to that, right? But then how to make that clinical, how to connect that to the clinical side of it. You're like, I'm always getting frustrated with this barn project. And I said, well, what's going on with your liver, right? How can we do some simple things overall that bring you back into balance, right? So it's not springtime when all the dandelions are blooming, but dandelions bloom every time of year pretty much. You can still get, if you dig under the winter, you get some green leaves, right? Dandelion's going to cleanse your liver, right? Dandelion's going to help relax and restore and dredge out those pathways that have been holding on to that frustrated emotion.
I'm getting a text here from a friend asking if you have penned a book.
Thank you. Back to our work with Michaela. Big shout out to her, right?
Yeah.
I've penned 1 million of them. They're all stuck in my computer.
Yeah. So have I.
Yeah. No, I'm working on it. And what I'm started to do is I've started to roll out sort of like a choose your own adventure book, right? Because I realized if I drop the whole thing, then it's another book. And there's 1 million books about Chinese medicine out there, right? Even one from a friend in Burlington I picked up at the, in the used, book swap. And I realized it's like little bits, little bite-sized bits.
Yeah.
So you asked, where can we get these spices? I'm starting to roll out this little brand of spices, Black Turtle Medicine spice meds. And there's 8 of them. And the idea being, again, back to that sort of turtle, right, that you can navigate. If I told you, you said, Balin, how do I get to Boston from here, right? And I could pull up my Google Maps and I could get that exhaustive turn-by-turn list, right? That's like concierge medicine. That's what I do with people when they come in, right? Like with you, right? I'm saying like, okay, we're going to try this herb and this formula, and we're going to tweak this, and we're going to use this acupuncture point. And that could be so specific that every day we do something different. Yeah. Right? Like, what's the speed limit, going through East Montpelier there, it drops to 35 when you're going down the hill right into North Montpelier, and, this kind of thing, right? Or I could say, like, how do you get to Boston? I could say, well, if you head south from here and take a little bit of a left.
Eventually.
And keep looking for, all roads are going to lead to Rome, right? So you're going to find Boston that way.
And if I don't like traffic, though, then you can cater that to me. You can say, okay, here's the route you take. Since you don't want to hit the highways, here's the route you can take.
Right. So you can do that. And the spice meds are that idea. If we have only bag balm and duct tape, right? If we have only apple cider vinegar, it's not enough. I can't get you to Boston if I only have up.
Sure.
Right? But if I have 8 directions, right? Now I can say, hey, head southeast from here. Yeah. I don't even do south and east. I could do southeast. You wind up in Boston, right?
Interesting.
So the spice meds are that way. So we have 8 different flavors. So you could wake up one morning, JD, and you could say, you know what? I'm sluggish today. Oh, I got another day of heavy lifting.
Sure.
And I say, well, that's what the number 6 is for. That's the sky medicine.
Interesting.
That's the sky's the limit. Like, you can do anything. You really believe it.
Before I forget, and I just have to mention this because I know I'm going to forget, and this is fascinating. There was something that came up that I saw in my feed somewhere about coconut water being like the ultimate remedy for a hangover.
Sure.
because of the electrolytes and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big drinker. Very rarely do I drink alcohol, extremely rarely. But I was thinking to myself, if that's good for someone with a hangover, well, what if you don't have a hangover?
Sure. Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
don't we all need this? So I started drinking coconut water.
Sure.
It's a little pricey.
Right.
But my God, it's like on a hot summer day, if I'm out working in the garden, sweating, really thirsty, I love Coca-Cola, I love water, and I love coconut water. But coconut water really, truly would actually quench my thirst.
Right. Yep.
And restore your body.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it's like...
Well, it's blood plasma. So we are, let me use the word, hologram, right? And that shows up in so many different traditions. So the Christian tradition calls it as above, so below, or man was made in God's image, right? Non-gender specific or gender specific, I don't know, whatever, like all that kind of stuff, right? But that idea is in science language, right? That's our current religion, right? We can, say, right? Is called a hologram, right? I just have to put a plug in there about, trust the science, right? It's just like some of my great friends are scientists, right? And the one went like, when they start saying trust the science, like what? Huh?
Yes.
That's interesting, right?
Goes against science.
Yeah.
So that religious aspect of scientism was a big awakening for me. But that as an aside, the hologram is the language for that in science, right? And a hologram, I don't know if you know, but like if you take a piece of that, like this is not a hologram, right? But if we were to cut a piece of this off, right, and then magnify that piece, it would have the same image in it.
Yes.
Right? And so you, JD, you are a hologram of the whole world, right? You have wind inside of you. You have the ocean inside of you, right? In fact, that's what our cells are in. That's why seawater and sea salt is good for you, right? Because you actually are a single cellular organism floating around in the primordial sea, right? It just happens that you've encapsulated that sea in a cellular capsule and created all these other layers to it, right?
Into a 5'4" overweight piece of shit.
I would say that a little bit differently. I would say that a bit differently for sure.
But that's fascinating though. I mean, isn't that so? That's so fascinating.
Well,
That's
everything.
so interesting.
We're extension of everything. We're all the same.
Yeah.
We're all part of the source. It's all the same thing here. It's all an extension of that stuff. Yeah.
Right.
The oceans are blood. The rivers is our veins. And there's blood inside of us and everything. Yeah.
You have essentially an apothecary of herbs, plants, and whatnot.
That's right. You saw it when it was at the well space. When we had that all crammed to that tiny little closet room. Yeah.
Yes, and another plug for Wellness Wednesday with Washington County Mental Health on Summer Street. On Wednesdays, you're over there.
Yeah.
And you're offering free acupressure and acupuncture.
That's right. Yeah. The clinic's really been rolling. We were there last night and had all the chairs full, just gracefully gliding through the whole universe of it. It was just lovely.
I was telling Paul before you walked in that a couple of years ago I went over. I've never had acupuncture ever. Walked in, I had a horrific headache. I don't know if you remember this. And you were like, all right, where's the headache? And I showed you which part of my head. And you were like, watch this. And you put the ear thing.
Little bead, yeah.
Little ear bead.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Right.
Gone.
Well, I brought some of those over too. I told Paul I'd be over with bells on. Like I had to get the coffee this morning, and I actually have some in my ear from yesterday too. I was gonna show you guys. Just simple stuff, right?
Yeah,
simple stuff. That
well, it's like you and we've all heard. Oh, you got a headache? Press on this part of your hand,
right.
Or if you're, Sherilyn said to me last winter, she had a horrible chest congestion and a cold, And I'm like, well, I got the Vicks. You put the Vicks on your chest with a warm compress and you get in bed. She's like, no. You put the Vicks on your feet. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? So we got in a big fight about that. I lost. What's up with that? What's that all about?
That's bringing the energy down.
What?
It's that same idea that
eucalyptus is like probably the primary in Vicks, right?
Yeah. Some of those
menthol.
menthol,
right.
Some of that essential oils, right? But those are going to activate chi. All of that, essential oil is activating chi. Back to that hologram idea, I want to just land the coconut oil, the coconut water thing. Is that's blood plasma. That's that's blood plasma that happens to be outside of you in the tree, right? And that's why in that tropical environment full of water like this, a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of like antimicrobial stuff in there so that it doesn't rot. Right, as that's blood plasma. They actually, I don't know the primary on this, but I believe it's almost sterilely injectable right into your vein. Doesn't even need to be digested, right? So yeah, that's external blood plasma. So, but the story with the Vicks on your feet is that's the energy rising into a headache. The energy is up and it's congested, right? And if you can get it down, right? So spices would be the number 2. Right, the whole thing. That's why I created this navigation thing. Is number 2, therapies, remedies, and techniques bring the energy down. This is what I do in my clinical practice with people, and I'm starting to build that Choose Your Own Adventure book out so that these are over-the-counter accessible, not in a way that is inappropriate or a way that people are going to hurt themselves.
Sure.
But like, if why not teach JD how to settle his energy when it's up?
Yeah.
Maybe you're anxious about a certain guest coming on, and you get excited.
Sure.
That's the time you need to settle your energy. Maybe you got a headache. That's the time you need to settle your energy. That's maybe your taxes are due. You got to settle your energy.
I want to put the Vicks in the nose, right where the symptoms are. But you're saying draw it away.
And symptoms aren't always where you think they are,
there
right?
you go.
Right?
Yeah, it could be.
That's it.
Yeah, it could be.
When I met you, I was telling you whatever my ailment was, and you were like, oh, you need to get the blah 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 blah, which was the ground up dried purple seaweed.
Sure.
What's that called again?
Which ground up dried purple seaweed was I talking about? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I'm like Paul
I haven't seen
knows.
the purple ones. I've only seen green. I don't know.
But you told me you get some of that and sprinkle it on your whatever.
Dulse. That's the one I was talking about. Yeah, because that one's commercially available. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they got dulse flakes in the salt shaker. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tastes like shit.
Well, so you'll have to try my number 2 spice blend and see if you like it.
Number 2 tastes good. I've experienced number 2 and number 4.
Yeah.
Really?
Number 2 is good.
Yeah. Number 4's got the lavender in it. So there you go.
Right.
Your spring blend.
Yeah.
That's what we use for number 4.
We all have.
Or no, 3. I think you gave me the lightning. Lightning's 3.
Lightning is 3.
Okay,
yeah.
it's number 3. I haven't had 4.
Yeah.
But we,
I can't speak to that one.
3 is digestive, more like
that was
caraway
nice.
and
yeah,
fennel
caraway,
and stuff like
fennel,
that.
yeah, those are the.
Look at how everyone's got like the infuser now. I mean, it's so popular. They're in dentist office. They're everywhere.
Right.
They're in
the
our
diffuser
bedrooms.
Cloves.
you're talking about.
Diffusers.
Yeah.
Cloves what they use in dentist office because it's analgesic,
Right.
Yeah.
and numbing and pain killing.
So we have so much stuff right in our yard. We have the mint. We have the lemon balm. We've got so many things that are right there accessible to us, right under our nose.
And I love that about Vermont, that there's so much information about, people are, clinical herbalism. There's a school about that. And, like that idea of being an herbalist and a folk herbalist and a clinical herbalist, all that, I love that. And actually something that I'm looking forward to deepening more into is some of the indigenous plants here and how to use them. And what I love most about the Taoist tradition is the guidance about why and when, right? And that's what I'm trying to make visible with these lines. Not only spices, but then there's therapeutic exercises.
Yeah.
So if the Vicks Vapor Rub thing, I'm totally familiar with that. It's a good idea. Put the Vicks on your feet. Even without the Vicks, you can do that by rubbing your feet together. You can bring the energy down. It's an old Taoist exercise written in the Taoist canon from, 300 BC, right?
Yeah.
Where people in caves figured that out. Like, oh, the energy is up right now. I need to get it down.
Sure.
Right?
I can't help but say, so many of us are walking around with so much that we're carrying. All you have to do is look at your phone every day, and there's 80%, 90% of what's coming down the pipe is negative shit. We all are, so many of us are walking around with anxiety, depression, sadness. We're masking things. We're getting into the booze. We're smoking too much pot. We're escaping so many things. We have troubled relationships, marriages, stress with the kids, so on and so forth. Yeah. And then we hear about serotonin, and that the pipe is too constricted, and we need to open up the pipe to allow more serotonin into our bloodstream. And it's like it seems like everyone is on sertraline. It's like sertraline is like today's candy. It's like everybody's on it. Are there ways, if someone were to come to you and say, "Hey man, Balin, I'm dealing with a lot of shit, man, over the last couple of years, and I'm having a hard time sleeping, and I'm just not good. I got the shakes. I got some dizziness, whatever it is."
Yeah.
Someone can come to you. You don't just grab something off the counter and say, "Take 5 of these." You sit down and talk with people. You really map it out.
Yeah. Well, that's my clinical practice, is to say, all right,
let's
Ted,
figure this shit out.
Right? Let's look at it. And again, back to that art background, right? Like Dowshing, one of my teachers, had a saying. He said, he had a bunch of sayings, I'm sure, but the one that comes up is cure is a term that he uses for meat. Right? But the idea also that comes from Dowshing is to say, like, diagnosis is thought of as a static thing. You have cancer, right? No. We're going to say you are in this confluence of situational change right now, right? I could say it is, 10:08 in the morning.
Not anymore.
Right?
It was when you started.
It was, right? It's change. We're through this process of change. And so you come in, you say like, "Oh, I'm not sleeping. I have anxiety. In a bad way." I say, "Well, let's take a snapshot of that." And it's already going to change the moment we take that snapshot, right? But like, if your goal is to be at Boston, which we might think of as vibrant health, or excited, joyful presence in the world, where you're just like really rocking your inner knowing out into the service of humanity, right? Like, okay, like that's Boston, right? And we can say like, okay, you're wandering around out in the woods of Dakotas, right? Like, if there are woods in Dakotas, I've never been there, right? But like,
no one,
right? But let's take a snapshot of that, right? And say like, okay, the land is parched, right? And it's wintertime and it's cold, and there's no firewood in, but the cistern is full, right? And there's no pipe that's coming, up into your kitchen, and at the same time, like, there's a whole bunch of fruit leather over there, but you don't really have any, fresh meat, right? So I can say, well, here's the picture of what's going on. We'll paint that diagnostic picture, and I call that taking the lay of the land, right? And I used to do it really sketchy. I mean, I'd cut my teeth doing that whole Chinese medical diagnostic in 15 seconds to sell somebody some vitamin C at the pharmacy, right? So, like, I really kind of cut my teeth to do that quickly, right? And I can, right, to be like, all right, you know what, take this. It's going to, like, help moisten the parched earth. It's going to get some of that water flowing out of the basement cistern, and, get your bow and go hunting some deer, right? Like, that could happen in a moment. But I've started to realize, you know what, like, I need to take the time to make that visible with somebody. And so working with again, plug to Michaela's honor, and launch that idea and all the books that have like been impacted in my computer, right? It's like started to roll this out and make it a visible lay of the land diagnostic process. So we put together a whole series of paperwork to go through and fill out and actually survey people and make it visible so they get a readout, just like an MRI scan, right? And I take time to do that. I really take, about 4 hours, two different sessions, to first intake and go through. Okay, well, let's really walk around this property and see, like, show me, the cistern, show me the fruit leather, show me what's going on in your whole, not only your body, but your life.
You've experienced cultures who are very good at doing this. That's the forefront of their culture. They is what you're talking about. They do this well. Here in America, it seems like, am I fair to say that we don't do it as well as other cultures? Look at India. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah, we have, and that's back to that cultural appropriation. I had a conversation with race conversation with